A lot of the trading card YouTube channels are really focused on investing, essentially. It is, they point out the reality that if you buy something like a collector booster box and you let it sit for years, you're going to make money, which is really cool and all. The problem is, in order to take advantage of that, you already have to have a ton of money. And so it's not very helpful for a regular person to know, like, oh, by the way, if you had $10,000, you could turn that into $13,000 in a year. And it's like, okay, great. That's nice. I don't have $10,000, or at least not for trading cards, right? So what I like to focus on, what's much more interesting to me, is how can I make money today? And it always requires work. There's, I mean, there's been rare times if you're able to pre-order some collector booster boxes, it's a gamble, but that can be a way to like make money overnight, right? If you were with it and you pre-ordered Lauren for 300 and then boom comes out it's 400, boom, you made money overnight. That's the closest thing I think to the kind of free tendies, easy tendies. Of course there's a risk to that too, right? Because if you bought Spider-Man, that didn't really work out. Spider-Man, by the way, you could pre-order that for like 400 and then after release it was selling for like 300. Some people pre-ordered it for like 600. I mean, some people really lost money on that. Anyway, I lost a little bit of money on Spider-Man. I think I pre-ordered one for like 400 and I ended up selling it for like 330 so that I could buy a case of Edge of Eternities, and I have no regrets. I needed to sell more than just the Spider-Man to get that case of Edge of Eternities, but I digress. So the question is, how can we make money today? And I have a neat little script that I use, and I'm going to share it, show it off. Is it gets this spreadsheet created, and this spreadsheet right here has every card from Dragonstorm, the Commander deck set, that is worth over 45 cents. 45 cents is my kind of arbitrary, like, I'm willing to sell these cards. You could have a lower floor, you could have a higher floor, and that of course would change how much money you're able to get out of this set. This up here, this 246, is the total market value of all of the cards. Now, some of this is a little misleading. Market price is a fickle thing on TCG Player. Like, let me show you this. You bust into Ureni. So, of course, TCG Player Direct has expensive copies. You look at, I mean, the market price for this, there's a lot of copies that cost around $6, $7, $8. But for some reason, the market price is 16. And I think it's because there's been a bunch of people recently that have been paying. Like, supposedly somebody just a few days ago paid, or I guess this was like a month ago, paid like up to $40 for some copies of this card. So anyways, market price is fickle. It is not necessarily correct. It's not necessarily useful, but I found that it's more useful than the low price, because the low price sometimes is just completely wrong. Like, they'll say like, oh, this is the low price, there's somebody selling this card for $1, but then you go and look and there is nobody selling that card for $1. So until that low price gets fixed, the market price is going to have to do. So let me pull up my spreadsheet again. So $246 of value inside of, market price. And like I said, some of these are rounded up. So actually, I guess the only card I know of that's rounded up is this Ureni. So you could take off $7 and you could say like $239 of value. And 80% of that is about $190, $197. And so the question is, what can we get these things at? Man, there's just so many kind of banger cards. It's like Seaboard Muse, Game Changer, very cool. Colossal Grave Reaver is a sweet new card. Tival the Bounce Scales is a sweet new card. I mean, the fact that two of the face commanders are just expensive, strong dragons is crazy. It's pretty cool. If you can hear my cat purring, you are welcome. That sound will heal your soul. As you can see, lots of cards here. This is a lot of work. I mean, this is each case of Commander deck sets you open is going to be 135 cards, with cards as cheap as Arcane Signet, that's like 30 whatever cents. And then, of course, cards as expensive as your Rennie, which is like a $7-8 card. Anyways. Okay, how much can you buy these things for? Well, on TCG Player, they go for $154, which is pretty exciting. What's interesting is on eBay, they go for $170, and I don't know why. I don't know why eBay is so much more expensive than TCG Player. Something about eBay, I suspect. So on TCG Player, you have to pay taxes, and that's a bummer because on eBay, you don't. Now, the normal person has to pay taxes on eBay, sales tax, but you can get a reseller certificate, and you should look into that. By the way, if you're going to do this seriously, is getting a reseller certificate. I can't remember exactly what it takes. I know I have one. I also have an LLC. I don't know if you need an LLC, though. I think you might just be able to get a reseller certificate, and then you can give it to eBay, and then you no longer have to pay sales tax on anything on eBay. And now, of course, that's under the understanding that everything you buy on eBay, you're going to resell. But in this case, that's true. If you're planning on buying commander decks, breaking them down and selling them, that is resale. And so, anyways, 154 now plus tax, though, that's going to get us quite a bit higher. So we look at for other cheaper options. Now, here, check this out, like Game Nerds, there's a bunch of different places, but Game Nerds, not a sponsor, has 154 free shipping, and I don't think they'll charge you sales tax because it is, just these one-off websites. I don't understand exactly how the rules work, but they often don't charge sales tax. And so you can buy 4. You can get up to 4 of these things and then get them shipped to you. And what's pretty cool about that, that price point, especially, let me pull up my Excel, is that, like, let's say, 154 is the cost, and then just do some mathy math. Now I took 80%, right? So I was saying that 80% of the cards you sell, you'll be able to keep. 13.5 of that's going to fees. I was estimating around 6.5% going to shipping and other costs, fraud or cards getting lost or you being a fool and shipping the wrong thing to the wrong person or whatever. And so a clean, I'm not sure if that's exactly right math, but 20% off of that 246, you get about $200. And then if you're spending 154, then you're netting about $43, which it's like, okay, it's pretty cool. I mean, you have to ship 136 cards, but $43 is pretty cool. The other thing too is like that website we were looking at where you could buy 4 of them, right? So you could get $160 from a purchase. And when you have more cards, it's easier. Like people will buy 4 of, right? People will buy 4 copies of Seaborn Muse, and then you get to ship them together, save on shipping, make money faster. That's what I'd recommend. I usually end up getting 4 or 5 deck sets at once and breaking them down. That is what I do. Yeah, here's another website, Forge & Fire. They limit you to 2, but this is another place that you can get for $150. See, even more margins, even more opportunity. And something we haven't talked about is the collector sample pack. There's a collector sample pack in each of these, and it's not crazy money, but it's some money. $3.37. You can, if you're a gambler, you can bust these open and hopefully open a Voice of Victory. You can get a Voice of Victory in these. I've pulled some on stream. And that's a, $14 card in its showcase, I think, is about that. Oh, excuse me. And so, each of these cases, like let's bust out our spreadsheet again. Each of these cases, there's the 43, but then there's also the kind of, I'll just call it $3 for rounding's sake. $3 times 5, right? And so equals that plus that. Boom, $58 for each case that you get. Not bad, right? You get 4 of those, that's $200. It's a bunch of work. You're going to end up making, like my estimate was about $12 an hour. Breaking them down. And this goes into my previous video too, where it's like, you need to have systems set up. You need to know what you're doing. It is work, but you can do it. It's like, it's certainly not, prohibitive. There's no like interview you have to pass or course you have to take or anything like that. Anybody could do it. One other cool opportunity is Bloomborough. Right here we've got all the Bloomborough cards at market price. Is that correct? Elspeth Sun's Champion for $3. That's the, sometimes it's like, wait, let me check on this. It's borderless. Yeah, that's so funny. Once again, it's, the market price, they're like, oh yeah, market price is $3, but that is not what it's been selling for. What's going on? Anyway, TCG Player, we got some strange data strangeness. I also wrote my code so they can grab the minimum price, but like I said, sometimes the minimum price is just wrong. So this, I guess I can change these. So like this is actually a 60-cent card. Saw half, just taking a look through. I think this looks good. Lotus Cobra's really shot up over the years. Pretty cool. Yeah, I think the rest of this seems to look good to me. And so, boom, $172 total value. Take out 20% for shipping and fees. We're looking at $137. So then the question is, once again, what can we get these for? Well, Game Nerds, once again, not a sponsor. You can get it for $120. So that nets you, $17? There's 4 decks here instead of 5. How many cards are there? There are 103. Interesting. So it is less. No, it is less than Dragonstorm. Dragonstorm, Dragonstorm's 136. So it's less work to sort, and it's only 4 decks. So it's less work to unpack and sort and sell these cards. And then boom, Game Nerds, not a sponsor, is coming in here clutch saying like, hey, you can buy 4 of these, free shipping, probably no taxes. And I'm pretty sure I looked on eBay and, it's much more expensive, harder to make profit on eBay. The thing that really comes in clutch with Bloomborough are these collector sample packs. So once again, there's going to be one inside of each box. And so if we bust out our calculator here, we can add that in. So we got our 137, but then we also get 4 times, it was like $7 after shipping and fees. Yeah, I don't know about that. You get the $28. And so now we're looking at $165 total. And then you're able to buy these for $120. So you're looking at $45. $45. Not bad. So once again, it's similar-ish margin, I think, when you calculate like the work it takes and things like that. Now the question might be like, whoa, Nick, how's this happening? How's there inverted expected value on product that's just available at distribution? Well, it's a great question. I'm not 100% sure, but I have my suspicions. I suspect that it is tax season. I mean, I know that it's tax season. Tax season is generally kind of January, really more like February through May, and it is when people are getting their tax returns. And a lot of industries see spikes in prices during tax season. And I believe Magic the Gathering is seeing a big spike inside of singles thanks to tax season. I mean, I'm seeing it. A lot of cards that I'm listing at market price because I don't want it to sell immediately, as opposed to, so, when you list on TCG Player, the easiest numbers to grab are the TCG low and the market price. And when I'm trying to sell, I sell at TCG low. And when I'm trying to sell slowly, I sell at market price. And I've been listing stuff at market price, and it's selling. It's selling quickly as if it was at low. And it makes me think that prices are going up. That's what that would be indicative of. And I think that just increased demand, probably from tax season, probably from people anticipating their tax return or getting their tax return, they're buying cards. And therefore, card prices are rising. There's a lot of great staples in these decks. There's just definitely opportunity to make money. I mean, a year ago, this was true with Doctor Who commander decks and Murders at Carlisle Manor commander decks. There was just solid money in these available at distribution commander decks. and that does fluctuate throughout the year. That's not always true. And I should say, I mean, I've been doing this for a year. So like, what do I know? I know what's happened in the past year. I don't know what's going to happen this year. 5 years from now, I will have been doing this for 5 years, and I will have a much better idea of what happens throughout the year. But for now, what I know is that early last year, there was great money to be made, just like right now, with these kind of arbitrage opportunities. And then what else? Throughout the year, it does fluctuate. There were times where I was like, ooh, I don't think there's positive expected value on anything. Especially like the real cash cows of like Doctor Who and Murders of Curl Manor began to no longer be available at distribution. And at that point, it was like, okay, what else is there? Modern Horizons 3, which was okay for a Commander deck set, but it was more expensive too. So anyways, very interesting stuff. Hope that you learned something. Hope you feel a little bit inspired. Yeah, there really is this opportunity here. You can give it a try. You could also not, like, it's a lot of work. So do what you want to do. Anyways, good times, y'all. We'll see ya. Oh, just kidding. One last thing. Subscribe. Please subscribe. This kind of information is taking a lot of time and effort on my end to get and share with you. And I would love if you subscribed. Thank you. Okay, now, bye.